know, I can understand people wanting to suck up, kind of kiss up to the new employees, to the new jobs, to the new promotions they work for, the new companies. And as much as I respect CM Punk for wanting to go the direction he's gone, to go to the UFC, there are a few things you don't do. When you get interviewed, you can say whatever you want. You can answer any question they give you. But when someone asks this question to you, what made you a good pro wrestler? They don't want to hear the answer you give them. They want to hear you say, well, it was my hard work. It was the training. It was this. It was that. That's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear this, which was, well, it's another thing in that phony world. What does it mean to be a good fake wrestler? That's an identity crisis that I think I struggled with. It doesn't matter if you're the best. Someone else picks who they want to be in the top spot. If you want to read the link, I'll provide it down below. But yeah, if you're somebody that used to work in one area of sports and entertainment, and then work in another, and then go work in another portion of it, and you say that doesn't endear you to any of your fellow peers or colleagues you would have still on that side of the fence. And it sure as hell doesn't endear you to the fans that still follow that sport, that followed you at that sport, and guess what? Still chant your name at every event that they could have chanted at, because they want to send the message that they want you back with that sport, back with that company. When you say something like that, it feels basically in the eyes of established veterans, legends, Hall of Famers, and mostly the fans that supported you, and again, like I say, still chant your name, you're basically stabbing them in the back, you're slapping them across the face, you're insulting them by basically saying this, and this is that when you basically say this, and again, I quote the answer he gave Sports Illustrated, and I quote, well, that's another thing in that phony world. What does it mean to be a good fake wrestler? That's an identity crisis that I think I struggled with. It doesn't matter if you're the best. Someone else picks who they want in the top spot. Now look, when you go out and say stuff like that, especially things like phony world, fake wrestler, you're insulting the past, the present, and even the future that love the business. Now I can understand maybe from CM Punk's, Phil Brooks' perspective that what he's trying to do is enrage the WWE, maybe get them thinking something that he wants them to think. I mean, let's not deny Phil Brooks here. He's a very smart, manipulative guy. He knows what he's doing at times. And he probably believes in his mind that if he says something like this, that let's say down the line he ever decides to go back, this will give him the leeway to get whatever he wants. So let's say he ever goes back and he wants to have a similar contract like Brock, but he wants to be the champion again, but he wants to be champion and go against people that he can have great matches with and always be in the main event with, and that being the last match, and thus also have the championship he's holding treated as a true, legit championship. Then if that's if that in theory is what he believes he's going to try to accomplish, then I say good luck to him. Because you know what's going to happen. You ever do go back, you ever do achieve whatever you're going to do, you have achieved the plan you want to do, and get what you want, yeah, that'd be fine and everything, but you're going to have a whole locker room of present and future superstars and even divas, male wrestlers and women wrestlers, looking at you with anger in their eyes, wanting and waiting for that opportunity to legitimately smack you across the face, legitimately whoop your butt in that ring so that you will be taught a lesson that you don't go out and say this kind of stuff, all because maybe in a sense you're still pissed off, even though you probably won't admit it. You're still pissed off at the fact that you weren't given that main event at WrestleMania. And that you as well weren't able to, generate the change that you felt was needed. Honestly, what did CM Punk really want? Did he want to basically, with his voice of the voiceless deal, was that all an indication of letting the wrestlers and divas say whatever they want? Kind of drop pipe bombs all the time? Seriously, is that what his plan was? To have people like, let's say, let's see, who do we have around here? Let's say, who can we think of? Let's say maybe John Cena come out and pipe bomb the company and say, oh yeah, I understand you guys don't like me around, but it's not my idea, it's them in the back, you talk to them, blah, blah, blah. Is that what it is? Is that what his whole plan was? And just because he couldn't accomplish that, and just because he couldn't get the main event at WrestleMania, he's going to go out and say this kind of stuff? Look, it's one thing to insult people in the business. It's one thing to shoot on people you felt are the real reason that held you down, that are holding your friends that are still a part of this fake, phony world, as you put it, down. Because it's one thing to insult them and shoot on them and say that the only way something like the WWE or any wrestling company is going to achieve is if that person's gone. It's one thing to shoot on them, but it's another on to say that what your peers, your friends, your family, in a sense, does or just recently did, it's one thing, like I say, to shoot on somebody, but it's another to say that what your peers, your friends, and even your family are currently or have recently done and stepped away from is phony, and to say it in a national publication, physically and online, like Sports Illustrated, that is going to garner more heat for you, not positive but negative, to the point that when you get into that octagon and people pay to see you, they're not going to pay to see you win. You're going to have a lot of fans that still chant your name at these events, follow you to UFC, that will be enraged, and they're not going to pay to see you win. They're going to pay to see you get your ass kicked, hoping that maybe that'll shut you up, make you change your mind, and make you rethink what you said and take back what you said, because maybe you're going to realize, oops, I made a mistake. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to do videos on what he says here. The Lex Man's going to do it. Off the Rope Show's going to do it. Solomonster's going to do it. Any Bill Apter will probably do one. OneWrestlingVideo.com will do one. Anybody that has a social media outlet. Joe Cronin is going to probably do one. Don, Tony, Kevin Castle is probably going to do one. Anybody that has a social media outlet like YouTube, Dailymotion, Vimeo, Twitch, they're going to come out, they're going to talk about this, and you know what? They're all going to agree with what people like me have to say, and what this guy that reported this on Wrestling News Center have to say. And that is, it's one thing to talk bad and shoot on people that you feel are ruining the business and need to get out for the business to thrive and succeed and to exist. But it's another to go out and say that that business that they're a part of, that you once made millions and millions and millions of dollars out of, made a living out of, that your friends, your peers, your family are currently doing or have recently stepped away from, is phony. They're going to come out and say that is probably they're going to basically come out and they're going to say the same thing I'm saying here. That basically you are insulting everything you once stood for. You once said you had a passion for the business. You loved the business. You were the best of the best. You were the best in the world. And now you come out and say this. They're going to say you're fucking, excuse my language, but they're going to say you're a fucking hypocrite for what you're saying. And all because of why? Why? Because of a deep down bitterness that you don't want to let out? You don't want to just come out and say, yeah, I said that because they didn't put me in the main event of WrestleMania. Is that it? Is that the reason? Hello? They let you hold the most prestigious championship. The championship that is the face of their company. They let you hold that belt, phony or not, for a year and a half. For 434 days. And yet, you want to throw that all under the bus. Because why? You want to get back at the WWE? You want the WWE to get back on their hands and knees, go to you and say, oh, please come back, we'll give you what you want. And what happens when they give you what you want? You're going to say more? You want more? Look. Like I mentioned earlier, I respect CM Punk for wanting to go the UFC route to try his hand at that. I respect anybody that wants to jump from one sport to another that they may be new at. They have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea that they're actually going to be a rookie in. I have mad respect for them doing that. But what I don't have respect for is them thrashing the sport that they said they once were the best in the world of. I don't respect when they thrash something they once were a part of. It's like me. It's like if I came out and I thrashed every single job I was a part of. And guess what? I don't do that. I may rant and may say things just like anybody else, but I don't thrash it. I don't say, oh, this is that, this and that. No, I show respect. Because if it wasn't for those jobs, I wouldn't have the job I have now. The fact of the matter is this. CM Punk, I have mad respect for trying his hand at the UFC. And I wish him all the best of luck. But what I don't have mad respect for, is when someone like him comes out and thrashes on a national worldwide publication, physical and online, like Sports Illustrated, comes out and instead of answering, oh yeah, this is what made me a good wrestler, the training, blah, 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 and all that, instead gives an answer of saying it's phony, it's fake. If it's a phony world, that fake wrestling, it's one thing to say that. It's one thing to say that See, I can't even think about what to say, folks, because of the fact that I have mad respect for this guy going to try his hand at the UFC, being a rookie, if you will, in what he's doing. But I don't have mad respect. But I don't have any respect for him turning his back and basically saying that the business that gave him the lifestyle he has, allowed him to save the money that he could save, is phony, and what makes a good fake wrestler. I mean, basically, this guy wrestles. I mean, basically, for him. Look at what he says here. Look at that. I don't know if you can read that, but look at that. I mean, he basically says, when they ask him that question again, he says, "Well, that's another thing in that phony world. What does it mean to be a good fake wrestler?" Seriously? How many injuries did you have? How many injuries did you work through? I'm just saying. I mean, really, if it's fake, then why are people why are people getting injured at times? Why was one of your close friends and Brian Danielson, out for nearly a year with a neck injury, possibly a career-ending one? You say that's fake? You say that's phony? Seriously. I understand people can be bitter and find their own way of showing that bitterness. And this, obviously, right here, in my opinion, is his way of showing the bitterness he still has. He can come out on Art of Wrestling, on Colt Cabana's podcast, who I've met and taken a picture of, and I have respect for, and am a fan of. It's one thing for him to come out on that podcast and say he has no more bitterness, he's over it, but yet it's another thing for him to come out and say stuff like this that obviously shows he still has bitterness in him. And he's only showing it in his own unique way. Well, CM Punk, Phil Brooks, I have mad respect for you going to the UFC and trying your hand at that, and I wish you all the best of luck. But what I don't have respect is for you coming out and saying that the business you gave, that gave you the lifestyle you have right now, is not just a phony world, and basically asking the question yourself of what was it? What does it mean to be a good fake wrestler? I want you to think about this, and I want anybody else watching this to think about this. If that world is phony, and anybody from a Daniel Bryan, a Seth Rollins, and a Dean Ambrose is a good fake wrestler, then why were they constantly injured? Like I said, why was someone like Brian Danielson, out with a near career-ending neck injury? How many times did CM Punk fight through his injuries before he was told, hey, you got to go. You got to rest up. You got to go to the sides. How many times? Huh? A lot. Now, yeah, there's no doubt that just like Daniel Bryan said in his speech for when he was inducting Conor the Crusher, that the world that what they're doing is fiction. The stories are what we see is fiction. And that the outcomes, either the long-term storylines or not, are predetermined. The fact is, when you have men and women traveling nearly 320-something days a year, and they're out there, unlike UFC and MMA, risking their lives, risking their bodies and their souls